It was a night like any other, or so I thought. The house was silent, except for the occasional creak of the aging floorboards beneath my restless steps. Midnight had come and gone, yet my wife, Hannah, was still nowhere to be seen. A nagging feeling twisted in my gut, though I tried to ignore it. She had mentioned a work dinner earlier, brushing it off as something routine. But there had been something in her voice, distant, rehearsed. I glanced at my phone again. No messages. No missed calls. The unease gnawed at me, growing stronger with every passing second, tightening like a vice around my chest. The clock on the wall ticked with maddening precision as I sat in the dim glow of the living room lamp, waiting. Then, just before 2 a.m., I heard the unmistakable hum of her car pulling into the driveway. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. I wasn't sure what I felt more, relief that she was finally home or dread over what I might discover. The front door creaked open, and she stepped inside. The soft click of her heels echoed against the hardwood floor. Moonlight filtering through the windows cast a faint glow on her form. Her hands fumbled with her coat, her movements unsteady, jittery. I switched on the light. Hannah froze, her eyes widening in shock as if she had seen a ghost. Her usual composed demeanor was in shambles. She took a step back, her face pale, lips parted as though searching for words that wouldn't come. Late night, I remarked, my voice eerily calm. I leaned back in my chair, a glass of scotch resting loosely in my grip, my gaze locked onto hers. She swallowed hard, her throat working as if it had turned to sandpaper. I told you, it was a work dinner, she said, her voice barely steady. I caught the tremor in her words. I caught everything. Is that what we're calling it now? I asked, raising an eyebrow. I took a slow sip of my drink, letting the silence stretch between us. Funny, work dinners don't usually leave lipstick smudges on a man's collar. The color drained from her face. Her fingers instinctively brushed against her neck, where her crimson lipstick had left its telltale mark. The walls seemed to close in around us, the air thick with unspoken truths. Daniel, I can explain, she started, her voice trembling. Don't. My interruption was sharp, cutting through her feeble attempt at justification. I stood, setting my glass down with deliberate care. My movements were slow, measured, but my mind was racing. I stepped closer, and she took a step back, as if distance could shield her from the inevitable. Don't insult me by pretending there's an explanation I believe, I said, my voice low, each word carrying the weight of my anger, my betrayal. Who is he? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Opened it again. Nothing. The silence was louder than any confession. I made a mistake, she finally whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. It meant nothing, Daniel. It was stupid, and I regret it. Please. My voice turned cold, sharp as broken glass. Nothing? I echoed, a bitter, humorless laugh escaping me. Do you think that makes it better? That it was so meaningless to you, yet you were still willing to throw everything away for it? Tears spilled down her face, streaking the careful makeup she had applied before meeting him. Daniel, please, she begged, her voice breaking. It was a mistake. We can get through this. I love you. The word hit me like a slap. Love wasn't sneaking around behind your partner's back. Love wasn't coming home at 2 in the morning smelling like someone else's cologne. Love was trust, and she had shattered that trust beyond repair. I walked past her, reaching for my jacket on the coat rack. Where are you going? She asked, desperation creeping into her tone, her voice trembled with panic, but I didn't turn back. Don't wait up. That night, sleep eluded me. Instead, I drove aimlessly through the city, following the same streets we had once walked together, where laughter and love had once felt so certain. Each memory resurfaced, taunting me with its warmth, only to be tainted by the bitter sting of betrayal. With every passing hour, the pain festered, but by dawn, something shifted within me, determination. I refused to let her ruin me. If she thought our marriage was something she could toss aside like an afterthought, she was gravely mistaken. When I finally returned home, the house was silent. Hannah was either asleep or pretending to be. It didn't matter. I had work to do. In the following weeks, I played my role to perfection, the devoted husband, eager to mend what was broken. I assured her we could rebuild, agreed to therapy, listened as she confessed her regret, even held her while she cried. But beneath my facade, I was meticulously crafting my revenge. First, I gathered proof, texts, emails, photos, every damning piece of evidence I could find. Hannah had been careless, assuming I wouldn't dig deep. She had underestimated me. Next, I consulted a lawyer. I had always been prudent with our finances, ensuring that the majority of our assets were in my name. That decision turned out to be invaluable. With an ironclad prenuptial agreement, I was in a position of strength. Everything I had built was secure. The final piece of my plan was the most gratifying. I tracked down the man she had been sneaking around with, Matt, a co-worker. A married co-worker, as it turned out. Confrontation wasn't my style, so instead I sent everything I had uncovered to his unsuspecting wife. Let her handle him. Then I waited. The reckoning arrived sooner than expected. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, I suggested hosting a small dinner party with friends. Hannah, eager to demonstrate her commitment to our so-called reconciliation, readily agreed. She had no idea what was coming. As guests arrived, she played the charming hostess, smiling, laughing, acting as though everything was picture perfect. I watched her, a smirk tugging at my lips. Midway through the evening, I stood, raising my glass. To new beginnings, I said smoothly, and to honesty. Hannah's smile faltered for the briefest moment, but she recovered quickly. Here, here, she replied, clinking her glass against mine. Actually, I continued, there's something I'd like to share with all of you. A little story about love and betrayal. The room went silent. Hannah's face paled as realization dawned. Daniel, she started, voice trembling. I lifted a hand, silencing her. Let me finish. Turning to our guests, I spoke evenly. For the past 10 years, I believed I had built a life with someone who valued loyalty. But while I was working to secure our future, she was busy exploring other options. Gasps rippled through the gathering. Hannah's eyes darted around the room, desperate for an escape, but there was none. But don't worry, I added, shifting my gaze back to her. I've handled everything. The divorce papers are signed, the assets are secured, and your little affair? Well, it's no longer a secret. I paused, letting the weight of my words settle. Oh, and Matt sends his regards, though he's probably too busy dealing with the fallout at home to be here. Hannah's face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but I felt nothing. No pity, no regret. Only the satisfaction of justice served. The party ended in stunned silence. Our guests left quickly, their eyes filled with awkward sympathy. Hannah tried to plead, but I had no more words for her. I was done listening. When she finally packed her bags and walked out the door, a strange calm settled over the house. It wasn't the ending I had once envisioned, but it was the one she had chosen. Sitting alone in the quiet of my living room, I breathed in deeply, realizing something profound. I was free to start anew, free to rebuild my life, free to find someone who valued honesty and loyalty as much as I did. And this time, I wouldn't settle for anything less.